The 1980s gave cinema Blade Runner, The Terminator, and The Thing, films that became foundational texts for generations to come. Yet, while audiences obsessed over these blockbusters, something else was happening in theaters and streaming services hidden behind layers of obscurity and commercial indifference. Between the studio tentpoles and mainstream successes, filmmakers were crafting genuinely inventive science fiction that audiences completely ignored upon release. These weren't failed experiments or forgotten trash. These were films that contained genuine artistry, imagination, and heart that simply got buried beneath the noise of bigger releases. Most of these films remain criminally underrated even decades later, sitting unwatched in streaming catalogs while audiences repeatedly rewatch the same familiar classics. Today we're excavating 12 films from cinema's forgotten archives that prove the 1980s contained far more science fiction brilliance than most people realize. This is your official invitation to rediscover what you missed. Body 1. Flight of the Navigator, 1986. Disney's Flight of the Navigator represents peak family science fiction filmmaking during an era when studios took creative risks with their entertainment. The premise itself carries genuine charm. A 12-year-old boy falls and loses consciousness in forest in 1978, waking 8 years later, unchanged despite the passage of time. Rather than traumatizing the child with body horror, the film uses time displacement as gentle mystery, slowly revealing that David was transported aboard an alien spacecraft during his unconscious period. The spacecraft itself becomes character, a sentient computer called Max, voiced by Paul Rubens, bringing mechanical personality through witty banter and genuine warmth. Director Randall Kleiser understood that effective science fiction works when audiences care about characters first and spectacle second. Flight of the Navigator employs groundbreaking computer-generated imagery, among the first extensive CGI sequences in commercial cinema. Rather than obvious special effects showcasing, the effects serve narrative purpose, creating believable alien spacecraft interiors and genuine sense of wonder during space sequences. The visual effects aged surprisingly well because they emphasize practical design and mechanical consistency rather than graphical showing off. What makes Flight of the Navigator genuinely exceptional is emotional core exploring displacement trauma through child's perspective. David experiences genuine fear, confronting unfamiliar technology and incomprehensible time loss. The film refuses minimizing his psychological adjustment, showing genuine difficulty reconnecting with family members 8 years younger while he remains static. Yet the film balances darkness with genuine uplift, suggesting that wonder and possibility exist beyond normal human experience. Flight of the Navigator employs electronic score predating, synth-heavy soundtracks becoming mainstream, creating unique auditory landscape, emphasizing alienation and discovery simultaneously. Audiences completely overlooked this masterpiece, dismissing it as children's film when it actually contains sophisticated emotional storytelling, rivaling major studio productions. Rediscovering Flight of the Navigator reveals that Disney possessed artistic courage that contemporary corporate strategies completely eliminated. The film remains streaming largely invisible despite absolutely deserving cult following matching its genuine artistic merit. 2. The Last Starfighter, 1984. Nick Castle's The Last Starfighter serves as quintessential escapist 1980s science fiction, exploring gamer fantasy before video game culture dominated entertainment consciousness. The narrative follows Alex Rogan, ordinary trailer park teenager obsessed with mastering arcade game called Starfighter. When Alex achieves the highest score, he discovers the game was actually a sophisticated recruitment tool created by alien civilization seeking military pilots. Alex gets recruited into intergalactic conflict, leaving behind identity to fight alongside extraterrestrial allies. The premise sounds absurdly commercial, yet Castle crafts something containing genuine heart beneath action spectacle. Alex genuinely loves his mundane existence, his trailer home, and his grandmother's stability. When offered adventure, he experiences authentic conflict, because leaving means abandoning his loved ones. Rather than portraying Earth existence as inherently inferior to space adventure, The Last Starfighter validates ordinary life while celebrating possibility transcending it. The special effects represented revolutionary achievement for mid-1980s cinema, extensively employing computer-generated imagery alongside practical models. The spacecraft battles utilize cutting-edge CGI, creating seamless integration between real and digital elements. The effects work age better than contemporary films because emphasizing visual clarity and design coherence rather than attempting photorealism. Lance Guest delivers surprisingly strong performance as protagonist, conveying genuine emotional stakes beneath adventure narrative. Robert Preston appears in the final theatrical role of his career, providing gravitas suggesting experienced actor taking material seriously. The film generates authentic tension during space battle sequences. Audiences genuinely uncertain whether Alex will survive interstellar warfare. What makes The Last Starfighter perpetually underrated is its refusal to condescend toward gaming culture or teenage protagonists. The film treats Alex's skills as genuinely valuable, suggesting that gaming excellence represents legitimate talent transferable to other contexts. By validating video game experience as meaningful, Castle created something surprisingly progressive for mainstream 1980s cinema. The film inspired novelizations, video games, and off-Broadway musical adaptations suggesting creative longevity despite initial box office underperformance. Watching The Last Starfighter today reveals how competent filmmaking transcends technical limitations, how genuine emotional investment generates audience connection regardless of visual sophistication. 3. Videodrome, 1983. David Cronenberg's Videodrome stands as genuinely unsettling science fiction, horror exploring media consumption and reality dissolution through body mutation and psychological breakdown. James Woods delivers career-best performance as Max Wren, television programmer obsessed with violent snuff programming he discovers through mysterious broadcast signal. As Max pursues the source of these disturbing transmissions, reality fractures, his body transforms in grotesque ways, and he questions whether external events represent authentic experiences or hallucinations triggered by experimental technology. Cronenberg crafts filmmaking that challenges audience comfort through deliberate discomfort, refusing simple explanations for events unfolding on screen. The film employs practical effects suggesting organic mutations, technology interfacing with flesh becoming indistinguishable from biological transformation. Rather than sanitized science fiction exploring ideas abstractly, Videodrome grounds philosophical inquiry in visceral body horror. Audiences experiencing the film cannot feel comfortable distance from philosophical examination because bodily revulsion forces engagement. The narrative deliberately maintains ambiguity regarding what constitutes reality versus simulation, whether Max experiences authentic events or technological hallucination projecting inward psychological turmoil. Cronenberg refuses resolving this ambiguity, instead suggesting that distinction between external reality and internal simulation dissolves when technology directly interfaces with consciousness. What makes Videodrome genuinely prophetic is its prescient understanding of media influence, technological manipulation, and how information systems structure human perception. Made in 1983, predating internet ubiquity, Cronenberg nevertheless understood how media could overwhelm individual perception, fragmenting reality into contradictory information streams. The film remains relevant precisely because media's influence intensified rather than diminished decades later. Contemporary audiences watching Videodrome experience eerie recognition regarding predictions proving disturbingly accurate. James Woods' performance captures genuine psychological dissolution, his portrayal suggesting authentic mental breakdown rather than theatrical acting choice. Wood conveys confusion, desperation, and gradual acceptance of unreality with unsettling credibility. What makes Videodrome perpetually overlooked is its deliberate refusal providing comfort, its commitment to maximizing audience unease rather than resolution. The film rejects mainstream appeal, instead creating challenging experience demanding active interpretation. Audiences seeking comfort repeatedly overlook Videodrome, allowing genuine masterpiece to remain buried beneath mainstream preference for conventional narrative structures. Rediscovering Videodrome validates Cronenberg's visionary approach, confirming that challenging cinema occasionally transcends commercial success through artistic integrity. Therefore, Scanners, 1981. David Cronenberg's Scanners represents science fiction horror exploring telepathic human subspecies through philosophical and visceral inquiry. The narrative involves individuals with psychic abilities called scanners, government interest in weaponizing these powers, and conspiracy spreading scanner population through pharmaceutical distribution. Rather than portraying psychic powers as wish fulfillment fantasy, Cronenberg presents telepathy as invasive violation, causing genuine psychological damage. Scanners experience overwhelming sensory input from surrounding thoughts, their consciousness bombarded by unwanted mental intrusion. The film grounds fantastic premise in psychological realism, suggesting that constant telepathic access would generate suffering rather than advantage. Director Cronenberg stages confrontations between scanners that become violent psychic duels expressed through practical effects, creating grotesque body horror. Heads explode, flesh distorts, neurological systems apparently fragment through psychic warfare. These sequences remain genuinely disturbing because effects suggest authentic biological violation, consciousness warfare, expressed through graphic physical transformation. The violence feels consequential rather than spectacle, performers experiencing genuine damage during psychic conflict. What makes Scanners genuinely unsettling is its exploration of violation through intimate bodily horror. Telepathy loses romantic associations, instead becoming represented as devastating assault on individual autonomy. Persons constantly exposed to external thoughts lose psychological boundaries, their consciousness invaded by others' mental intrusions without consent or protection. Cronenberg suggests that consciousness itself represents final frontier of human violation, that direct mind access represents ultimate privacy destruction. The philosophical implications extend beyond action sequences into meditation on consciousness autonomy and individual integrity. Stephen Lack delivers enigmatic performance as primary scanner, discovering his extraordinary abilities while navigating conspiracy and conspiracy. Hack conveys genuine confusion and psychological strain from overwhelming sensory input, suggesting performer understands character's internal experience. What makes Scanners perpetually underrated is its commitment to genuine philosophical inquiry alongside visceral horror. The film refuses separating ideas from physical expression, instead integrating philosophical exploration directly into body horror sequences. Audiences dismissing the film as simple horror overlook sophisticated examination of consciousness and individual autonomy that justifies visceral presentation. 5. Altered States, 1980. Ken Russell's Altered States represents provocative science fiction, exploring consciousness transformation through sensory deprivation and hallucinogenic experimentation. William Hurt delivers committed performance as Edward Jessup, psychology professor, combining professional research with personal obsession regarding consciousness alteration. Jessup believes that combining sensory deprivation tanks with powerful psychoactive substances will unlock authentic altered states of consciousness, revealing fundamental aspects of human consciousness science deliberately ignores. Russell crafts filmmaking that embraces visual surrealism and philosophical ambition, refusing conventional narrative structures, constraining concept exploration. Rather than depicting drug usage as irresponsible excess, Altered States presents Jessup's research as legitimate philosophical inquiry into consciousness nature, despite dangerous methodology. The film explores whether chemical alteration reveals authentic consciousness truths or generates compelling illusions indistinguishable from reality. Jessup's experimentation progressively destabilizes his mental and physical form, consciousness alterations apparently affecting biological structure itself. Russell employs kaleidoscopic visual effects, rapid editing, and disorienting cinematography, suggesting consciousness fracturing under extreme alteration. The visual language directly conveys protagonist's subjective experience, audiences experiencing Jessup's psychological dissolution alongside him. What distinguishes Altered States from simple drug exploitation is its genuine philosophical framework, exploring consciousness as fundamental reality mystery. Jessup's research isn't hedonistic excess, but legitimate scientific inquiry into consciousness mechanics. The film refuses condemning drug usage while also refusing romanticizing it, instead presenting consciousness alteration as genuinely dangerous while philosophically significant. The narrative demonstrates real consequences of consciousness exploration. Jessup experiencing genuine psychological and physical damage from experimentation. The film maintains genuine uncertainty regarding what constitutes authentic consciousness, revelation versus hallucination-generated illusion. Russell refuses resolving philosophical questions, instead suggesting consciousness nature remains fundamentally unknowable through conventional science. What makes Altered States perpetually overlooked is its commitment to maximizing audience discomfort through visual assault while maintaining philosophical rigor. Contemporary audiences frequently dismiss the film as 1980s excess, overlooking sophisticated meditation on consciousness, exploring questions remaining unresolved decades later. Rediscovering Altered States reveals Russell's genuine artistic ambition, his willingness pushing boundaries to explore philosophical territory most filmmakers completely avoid. 6. The Last Unicorn, 1982. Ralph Bakshi's The Last Unicorn represents ambitious animated science fiction, fantasy exploring themes of species extinction and temporal displacement through metaphorical framework. The narrative follows final, surviving unicorn journeying across fantastical landscape, seeking others of her kind, while pursued by malevolent forces seeking to eliminate her completely. Rather than straightforward fantasy adventure, Bakshi creates philosophical meditation on isolation and extinction, the unicorn confronting universe deliberately expunging her species. The film employs combination of traditional animation and rotoscoped live-action sequences, creating distinctive visual aesthetic appearing nowhere else in animation history. The blended animation styles create unsettling quality, suggesting reality itself becomes unstable. Animation conventions fragmenting into hybrid visual presentation. The soundtrack features songs by America the Band, contributing folk musical sensibility, creating atmosphere emphasizing isolation and melancholy. Bakshi refuses crafting cheerful adventure, instead creating genuinely dark narrative contemplating species annihilation and hope within hopeless circumstances. The unicorn character conveys weariness and resignation, her ancient consciousness recognizing her inevitable extinction despite continued existence. The film explores genuine philosophical darkness, examining futility of resistance against inevitable historical forces. What distinguishes The Last Unicorn is its commitment to authentically dark narrative, refusing Hollywood sentimentality. Contemporary animated films repeatedly demonstrate that animation can accommodate philosophical inquiry and emotional complexity. Yet, The Last Unicorn arrived decades before animation became accepted as serious artistic medium. Bakshi created challenging narrative defying commercial expectations, refusing conventional happy ending despite audience preference for uplifting resolution. The film employs sophisticated symbolism throughout. Forest creatures representing human society's casual cruelty, the evil King Haggard embodying destructive obsession with permanent control. Bakshi explores how institutions deliberately eliminate inconvenient things lacking commercial value. How extinction becomes justified when extinction targets creatures society deems worthless. The philosophical complexity remains relevant decades later. It's speaking to environmental destruction and species elimination persistent through contemporary history. What makes The Last Unicorn perpetually overlooked is animation medium discouraging serious critical attention, audiences dismissing animated works as inherently lighter than live-action alternatives. Yet, Bakshi created sophisticated meditation on extinction and futility. Through animation specifically, because the medium permitted philosophical expression, live-action productions wouldn't risk. Rediscovering The Last Unicorn validates animation's potential for mature artistic expression, confirming that visual medium and philosophical complexity exist compatibly. 7. Lifeforce, 1985. Tobe Hooper's Lifeforce transforms vampire mythology into space-based science fiction horror, creating genuinely unique amalgamation of genres. The narrative involves astronauts discovering 3 humanoid creatures in suspended animation aboard derelict spacecraft. subsequently transporting them to Earth, where the creatures reveal themselves as psychic vampires feeding on human life force. Rather than grounding vampirism in supernatural mysticism, Hooper positions creatures as extraterrestrial parasites operating through alien biological mechanisms. The film employs practical effects suggesting genuine organism rather than human character. The vampiric creatures, possessing distinctive physiology and motivations transcending human comprehension. Hooper crafts pure spectacle throughout, abandoning logic for imaginative excess, refusing conventional storytelling constraints. The film celebrates audacity and creative ambition, Hooper sacrificing narrative coherence for visual inventiveness and thematic boldness. What makes Lifeforce genuinely shocking is its commitment to cosmic horror, suggesting human insignificance confronting vast extraterrestrial intelligence. The creatures possess motivations completely indifferent to human values or survival instincts. They consume human life force not from malevolence, but survival necessity. Extraterrestrial parasites operating according to alien evolutionary logic. The film refuses anthropomorphizing the creatures, instead suggesting genuinely alien consciousness defying human comprehension. The vampire plague spreading through London creates increasingly chaotic imagery as social structures collapse, civilization fragmenting when life force consumption becomes widespread phenomenon. Hooper stages sequences of surreal chaos, nude aliens wandering London streets, scientific establishments failing to contain extraterrestrial threat, military forces completely impotent, confronting unknown enemy. The visual excess never becomes gratuitous, but rather expresses genuine creative ambition, Hooper refusing conventional limitations. What distinguishes Lifeforce is Peter Firth's committed performance as protagonist, desperately attempting, preventing planetary catastrophe. Firth conveys genuine desperation, attempting warning about threat nobody believes. His character becoming voice of futile warning nobody heeds. The narrative maintains genuine stakes, despite descending into increasing absurdity. Audiences know threat remains real, despite growing surrealism. What makes Lifeforce perpetually overlooked is its commercial failure upon release. Audiences unprepared for genre mashup, combining hard science fiction with vampire mythology with cosmic horror. Rediscovering Lifeforce reveals genuine creative artistry beneath surface absurdity. Hooper, creating something genuinely unique, refusing categorical classification. 8. Enemy Mine, 1985. Richard Jewett's Enemy Mine represents remarkably ambitious science fiction, exploring reconciliation and mutual understanding between mortal enemies. The narrative depicts military pilot Willis Davidge crash landing on hostile desert planet alongside enemy Drach pilot, their continued survival dependent upon cooperation despite irreconcilable conflict. The film gradually explores how extended proximity forces recognition of shared humanity despite biological differences, enemies gradually transforming into genuine friends through mutual vulnerability. Dennis Quaid delivers committed performance as protagonist experiencing genuine character transformation, his initial hatred gradually dissolving when confronted with Drach's actual personality beneath enemy categorization. The supporting character development proves surprisingly effective, audiences witnessing genuine relationship development transcending military conflict. What makes Enemy Mine genuinely surprising is its committed pacifism despite military setting, its explicit argument that understanding transcends conflict resolution. Davidge learns that Drach possess distinct personality, philosophy, and genuine reason regarding their warfare, their motivations comprehensible despite opposition to human interests. Rather than presenting warfare as good versus evil conflict, the film suggests war emerges from mutual misunderstanding, both civilizations convinced of righteousness justifying military action. The film explores genuine anti-war philosophy, suggesting that personal connection dissolves ideological justification for violence. What distinguishes Enemy Mine is its genuine emotional power, despite simplistic premise. Watching enemies gradually transform into friends creates surprising emotional impact, precisely because film maintains stakes throughout. Neither character can completely escape military duty, their friendship occurring within context of unresolved conflict. suggesting personal connection cannot resolve systemic warfare. The film's ending proves genuinely bittersweet. Characters achieving mutual understanding, while remaining separated by civilizational conflict they cannot personally resolve. The special effects represent significant achievement for mid-1980s science fiction. Creature design, creating sympathetic alien character, avoiding typical rubber suit, aesthetic suggesting artificiality. The Drac character functions as genuine character, rather than special effects, showcase. Audiences connecting emotionally, rather than responding to technical achievement. What makes Enemy Mine perpetually overlooked is its committed sentimentality despite military setting. Audiences expecting action, spectacle receiving philosophical exploration instead. The film bombed commercially in American markets, yet became extraordinary success in former Soviet Union, becoming first Western science fiction film screened in Soviet theaters. Rediscovering Enemy Mine reveals genuine artistic merit beneath simplistic premise, Jewett creating surprisingly moving meditation on mutual understanding and transcendent friendship. 9. Starman, 1984. John Carpenter's Starman represents uncharacteristic sentimentality from director known for cold cynicism, a gentle science fiction exploring human connection and extraterrestrial understanding. The narrative involves alien visitor assuming human form, specifically duplicating deceased human to avoid causing alarm. The Starman gradually learns human behavior and emotion through extended interaction with human companion, their relationship developing from antagonistic tension toward genuine affection. Jeff Bridges delivers remarkable performance, conveying alien consciousness, gradually learning human behavior. His physical acting suggesting authentic unfamiliarity with human movement and social convention. Bridges' portrayal captures genuine otherness. Audiences observing consciousness, learning human behavior through observation rather than instinct. What makes Starman genuinely exceptional is its genuine warmth, refusing cynicism about human connection. Carpenter creating surprisingly moving meditation on love transcending biological difference. The film explores how genuine connection emerges through extended proximity and mutual vulnerability. Starman gradually recognizing emotional significance despite alien origin. The narrative maintains genuine stakes throughout. Government pursuing Starman desperately. Their continued survival dependent upon successful escape. Yet the film refuses reducing to simple chase narrative, instead exploring gradual emotional development despite external pressure. Karen Allen delivers equally committed performance as human companion, her character experiencing genuine emotional transformation. She gradually falls in love with creature fundamentally alien to human experience. Allen conveys authenticity regarding emotional confusion, her character uncertain whether genuine connection exists or merely sympathy for vulnerable stranger. The film explores genuine philosophical questions regarding love and connection, whether authentic relationship requires similarity or whether sufficiently intense connection transcends biological difference. What distinguishes Starman is Carpenter's commitment to genuine sentiment despite reputation for cynical filmmaking, the director demonstrating emotional range unexpected from his typical portfolio. The film proves genuinely moving, without descending into sentimentality, Carpenter maintaining emotional authenticity through carefully structured narrative. The ending remains genuinely bittersweet, characters achieving profound connection while recognizing their continued existence remains impossible. Their separation represents genuine tragedy despite mutual love. What makes Starman perpetually overlooked is its tonal departure from Carpenter's reputation. Audiences expecting typical cynical approach, receiving surprising warmth. Rediscovering Starman reveals Carpenter's genuine artistic range, confirming that capable directors transcend categorical expectations when material demands different approaches. 10. Krull, 1983. Peter Yates's Krull represents ambitious science fiction, fantasy creating genuinely unique, aesthetic refusing conventional genre categorization. The narrative depicts medieval society confronting alien invaders, magic and technology existing simultaneously within shared universe. Prince Colwyn gathers unlikely group of warriors to assault alien fortress storming across planetary landscape. His mission, to rescue kidnapped princess and defeat malevolent entity controlling invasion. Rather than separating science fiction and fantasy into distinct elements, Krull synthesizes both, creating genuinely original world logic. The film employs practical effects, creating impressive alien spacecraft, contrasting with medieval society. The visual collision creating distinctive aesthetic appearing nowhere else. Director Yates crafts genuinely ambitious action sequences, practical stunt work, creating impressive confrontations remaining visually distinctive decades later. The climactic assault on Alien Fortress employs enormous practical sets and stunt performances, conveying genuine scale and danger. What distinguishes Krull is its absolute commitment to visual spectacle, refusing narrative coherence when spectacle demanded priority. The story sometimes descends into incomprehensibility, plot developments occurring without sufficient explanation, narrative logic occasionally fragmenting. Yet the film maintains engagement through visual inventiveness, audiences remaining invested through impressive imagery, rather than comprehensible narrative. The supporting performances remain solid, veteran actors lending credibility to occasionally absurd material. Liam Neeson appears in early career role, delivering committed performance despite limited screen time. Tom Holland, actor not the contemporary Spider-Man performer, portrays youthful princess, creating genuine chemistry with protagonist. What makes Krull genuinely unique is its refusal categorizing itself clearly, the film existing ambiguously between science fiction and fantasy, refusing definitive classification. The creature design remains visually impressive despite practical limitations. Alien entities suggesting genuine extraterrestrial origin, transcending typical rubber suit aesthetics. The film employs genuine practical innovation, creating impressive creature effects, preceding digital animation becoming standard. What makes Krull perpetually overlooked is its commercial failure upon release. Audiences confused by genre ambiguity, dismissing the film as confused compromise between incompatible genres. Contemporary appreciation recognizes Krull's genuine originality. The film's refusal conventional categorization, now recognized as artistic strength rather than commercial weakness. Rediscovering Krull validates audacious vision, prioritizing spectacle and originality over conventional logic and marketability. 11. Slipstream, 1989. Steven Lisberger's Slipstream represents genuinely ambitious science fiction, exploring post-apocalyptic landscape, transformed by powerful wind, current becoming meteorological god to surviving population. The narrative follows various individuals attempting capturing mysterious prisoner, possessing extraordinary value, their journey occurring within wind-dominated environment, fundamentally changing human civilization structure. Rather than standard post-apocalyptic survival narrative, Lisberger creates philosophical meditation on environmental transformation, how physical world changes reorganize human society fundamentally. The world depicted in Slipstream develops logic responding to wind dominance, civilization developing technologies and social structures, adapting to perpetual powerful wind currents. Aircraft become primary transportation, ground vehicles becoming impractical within constant extreme wind. Society reorganizes around weather-dependent survival. Human civilization rebuilding itself, responding to new environmental conditions. What makes Slipstream genuinely fascinating is its serious engagement with environmental transformation consequences, suggesting that physical world changes possess profound social implications. The film employs remarkable practical effects, creating wind-transformed landscape, miniatures, and practical models suggesting genuine world rather than purely digital visualization. Mark Hamill delivers committed performance as protagonist, enigmatically motivated. Hamill conveys mysterious intelligence suggesting hidden knowledge regarding prisoners' true identity. The supporting cast, including Ben Kingsley, brings gravitas, suggesting experienced actors recognizing material's genuine philosophical ambition. What distinguishes Slipstream is its commitment to environmental speculation, the film presenting world where atmospheric transformation reorganized civilization completely. Contemporary audiences recognize prescient elements regarding climate change implications, Lisberger apparently understanding that environmental alteration generates profound social restructuring. The film explores how civilization adapts when environmental conditions change fundamentally. Suggesting human adaptability proves more significant than technological sophistication. What makes Slipstream perpetually overlooked is its commercial failure and limited theatrical distribution. Audiences struggling to access film during initial release. The film arrived during a period when direct-to-video releases dominated independent science fiction. Theatrical distribution becoming increasingly exclusive. Lisberger created genuinely ambitious work that never received adequate promotion or theatrical access audiences typically expected. Rediscovering Slipstream through contemporary streaming access reveals genuine creative artistry. Lisberger, creating visionary work, addressing environmental transformation decades before climate change became cultural mainstream. 12. The Quiet Earth, 1985. Jeff Murphy's The Quiet Earth represents brilliantly austere science fiction, exploring sudden human extinction through perspective of seemingly sole survivor. Bruno Lawrence delivers absolutely committed performance as Zach, scientist awakening to discover humanity mysteriously vanished, reality apparently containing only 3 survivors. Rather than depicting immediate survival panic, The Quiet Earth explores psychological dimensions of complete social isolation, consciousness grappling with fundamental reality alteration. The narrative maintains genuine psychological authenticity, Zach experiencing genuine mental deterioration as complete isolation proves psychologically devastating regardless of physical survival adequacy. Murphy employs extended sequences of environmental observation. Audiences sharing Zach's experience, observing familiar civilization emptied of human presence, skyscrapers standing vacant, streets remaining empty, world continuing existing while humans vanish completely. The film explores how human consciousness depends upon social connection, survival possessing minimal meaning when isolated from human context. What distinguishes The Quiet Earth is its philosophical engagement with meaning and existence, survival possessing limited significance when existing completely alone. The introduction of other survivors generates complex emotions, Zach simultaneously experiencing relief at finding other humans and distrust toward unfamiliar persons, potentially threatening his established routine. The film explores how isolated consciousness develops unique logic, other persons representing threat to psychological equilibrium, Zach established through extended solitude. What makes The Quiet Earth perpetually remarkable is its austere commitment to psychological realism, refusing Hollywood sentiment regarding human connection, transcending all obstacles. The film suggests genuine psychological damage occurs from absolute isolation, that human consciousness genuinely requires social context, that survival without meaningful connection possesses limited value. The special effects remain deliberately minimalist, the film emphasizing psychological exploration rather than spectacle. Vacant environments achieve emotional impact through their emptiness, human absence generating more emotional resonance than conventional special effects could achieve. What distinguishes The Quiet Earth is its New Zealand origin, the film representing regional cinema, rarely receiving international distribution. Murphy created genuinely distinctive work, reflecting specific cultural perspective via its film incorporating South Pacific imagery, creating unique visual texture unavailable from typical Hollywood production. The cinematography emphasizes landscape beauty existing independent of human occupation, suggesting nature continues regardless of human existence. What makes The Quiet Earth perpetually overlooked is its limited international distribution and relatively modest visual spectacle failing to attract conventional mainstream attention. Yet, the film represents genuine artistic achievement, Murphy creating sophisticated meditation on existence and meaning, exploring philosophical territory most commercial science fiction deliberately avoids. Rediscovering The Quiet Earth reveals that regional cinema occasionally transcends limitations, creating work rivaling major studio productions through genuine artistic vision and philosophical authenticity. How many of these films have you actually watched, and how many have disappeared completely from your streaming consciousness despite genuine artistic merit? Which of these forgotten gems will become your next late-night viewing experience? the film pulling you away from algorithmic recommendations back towards cinema's forgotten archives. Comment below, revealing which of these 12 films you've experienced and which deserve resurrection from your personal viewing schedule. Better yet, tell me which forgotten 1980s science fiction film should have made this list. The hidden masterpiece you believe deserves recognition alongside these already exceptional entries. The streaming age promises infinite content, while simultaneously burying authentic masterpieces beneath algorithmic mediocrity. These 12 films demand your attention precisely because they remain forgotten, despite deserving far greater recognition and celebration. Sound off regarding your favorite overlooked 1980s science fiction, because honestly, resurrecting these hidden treasures proves infinitely more valuable than watching the same streaming recommendations everyone encountered already.